Hello, guys. My name is Judy, and this is my husband Neil.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about love languages and how two people from different cultures can work together with their love language in a marriage. There are several love languages out there, but usually people have like two love language, a primary and a secondary. My husband's primary love language is words.
As you guys have probably guessed already based on who does most of the talking. There are pros and cons when your love language is words. The pro is that Judith can say anything minor that's a compliment, like I love it when you do this, or I love this about you, and it means so much to me. Even if it's something minor, and I know, even in my head I'm thinking, this isn't a big deal, even though it means so much. So yeah, so it's nice. Judith can just say something, and it means that she can easily make me feel loved and appreciated. The negative is she could say something, and even though it's normally not that big a deal, it hurts. Even in my head, I'm thinking this isn't a big deal. But Judith can say, why didn't you do this? Or like, I don't like it when this happens. And it hurts. And then what also doesn't help is bringing in her Congolese culture, where she will then get very harsh and say, you're fat. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to sugarcoat it or beat around the bush. We're going to go right into it and be blunt. And so sometimes I'll even hear Judith talking to her brother on the phone. And I'm like, are you guys fighting? Are you guys okay? And
we're just blunt.
She's like, we're just talking. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, in that case. So yes, it's quite entertaining how that type of mix goes on. The other thing is how a lot of people in my culture think I'm blunt. And I'll say something about how it's his fault that he did that, this is happening to him because he didn't do such and such. And then people will think, it's like, you can't talk like that, Nelson. I'm like, I'm sorry. I guess I'll be more nice about it. And then I come home and then Judith's like...
Sometimes he'll come home and be like, oh, Judy, I think I could have been nicer to this guy. I'm like, what did you do? Well, he did so and so. And I just told him, well, it was your fault. And then I tell him, well, I don't see any problem there. You're right. You told him the truth. It was their fault, clearly.
So it's like, okay. So yes, I help us tone it down so we're more nice around people. And then Judith helps me being a little more stronger so I can handle harsh criticism. Yeah. Even if it's unwarranted. So yes, so that's what it's like for the words part. The nice part for our second love language is that we both have the same one. Our secondary love language is time. And so with time, we don't even have to be doing the same thing. We can just be hanging out in the same room, and I'll be playing video games or watching a movie, and she'll be hanging out her phone or just talking or texting with friends, and we feel a sense of love and because we're spending time together. And it's interesting how that works, where I'm like, oh, I miss Judith, even though she's just at work or she's just somewhere else, and I feel a sense of love when she's around. For Judith, her primary love language is touch. And when she's had a rough day,
Actually, a lot, please.
If she wants to feel appreciated or loved or cared for, I need to be putting my arm over her shoulder. I need to be holding her hand, or sometimes touch my foot to her foot under the table when we're out to eat. Anything, it means the world to her. Even though before I met Judith, I was someone who could care less about touch. I'm not a hugger. I never was a hand on the back or shoulder, anything. I just wasn't that. And then when I met Judith, all of a sudden I had to start learning what it's like to hold someone's hand or putting my arm over someone's shoulder. And that was all new to me. But luckily that's pretty easy to learn. And so yes, and whenever I see Judith having a bad day, I know the go-to is you don't come with words of profound help. All I have to do is be there and put my arm around her, and that's all I have to do.
That's all I need.
I just have to be there, and it's quite simple. I feel like I have it easy here.
It's funny with the whole, like, how it works with both of us. having a secondary love language of time, my husband loves sci-fi movies.
I love it a lot.
He watch a lot of sci-fi movies, and with that, I will sometimes watch those movies with him because I know I'll get a lot of touch and time at the same time too. So with that, I got sucked into now watching a lot of sci-fi movie too.
She actually looks forward to it.
I know, because I get the touch and the time. And the funny thing is, one day we were watching at the end of one movie, and my husband was like, "Oh, did you know what you just watched?" I was like, "Oh, it was good." And it was like, "Well, that was a Star Wars movie." I was like, "I can't believe it. I just watched a Star Wars movie, and I thought it was good."
That's right. So yes, it's been interesting figuring out how to different ways that we can grow our marriage by things like figuring out what hurts the other person.
Yeah.
And another thing that comes with hurting is the negative for touch. Because with touch, once a while ago, we'll call it a discussion. And while discussing, I got frustrated with Judith. And so I just kind of pushed her to the side so I could go off somewhere. And Judith was hurt so much. It was like I just shoved her in the wall. But all it was like 2 inches so I could move somewhere. Yeah. And so I've learned that if I'm ever frustrated in an argument or just at anything with Judith, just be very careful not to do anything, because it's going to be interpreted the same way as if she says something harsh to me. So we have learned in our marriage how to look out for the other person's love language and not communicate negatively when we don't want to, and also how to grow the feeling of a desire and a feeling of appreciation of one another by meeting each other's needs, because words don't mean much to Judith, and touch means absolutely nothing to me. And so meeting each other in the middle of showing that I do love Judith, and so telling her that is by me hugging her, and that's helped us grow closer to one another throughout these years together. So I hope that's given you some insight, and thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching our video today. One question that we get asked a lot is, why does a young couple like you guys decide to live in Northeast Ohio? What's over there? The answer and the reason is, I moved to Ohio to go to school, and after I graduated, I decided to stay because I found the man of my life. So we stayed here. If you have any question, go ahead and type it in the comments or email us, and we may answer it in one of our next videos. Thank you for watching.